production of the Mississippi State University Extension Service.
Today on Farm Week, there's reportedly progress being made on the House and the Senate getting together to negotiate a new farm bill.
In southern gardening, the Zahara Zinnia. It's beautiful and it's tough.
In the full sun.
In the markets, indications that pork demand is higher as concerns rise over soybean development.
In the feature segment, St. Bethany Fresh. This Pontotoc brother and sister operation is one of the most technologically advanced greenhouse tomato operations in the state.
That's the most important thing. We may have beautiful plants, we may have a wonderful facility, we may have beautiful tomatoes, but if they don't taste good, it's all for naught. So we're really excited about how people are responding to our tomatoes.
Good day, everyone. I'm Leighton Spann.
And I'm Artis Ford. Welcome to Farm Week. The Congress is presently on its August recess, but there are still some negotiations proceeding on the Farm Bill.
Artis, the Congress won't return from its recess until September 9th. It will have from then until the end of September to pass a new Farm Bill. Otherwise, the present Farm Bill extension will expire. Now, depending on what you read or who is quoted, there could be real action taking place or no action. Politico.com reports there has been a lot of perception among farm state Republicans that GOP House Leader John Boehner was slow-walking Farm Bill talks with the U.S. Senate. Now, this perception prompted Boehner to reach out to the Farm Bill's major players, saying the House will be prepared by early September to appoint its members for the conference committee with the Senate. Senate Agriculture Committee Chairwoman Debbie Stabenow said her conversations with Boehner have been, quote, short but positive. Meanwhile, 20 House Republicans have been working with Boehner and House Ag Committee Chairman Frank Lucas to come up with a replacement for the food assistance title, which was not included in the Farm Bill passed in the House. Meanwhile, Agriculture Secretary Democrat Tom Vilsak warned that if the Congress doesn't pass the Farm Bill now, there's no telling when it might happen. Market to Market's Mike Pearson reports Vilsak's comments came during an Iowa speech.
Serious issue here in this country, and that is of soil erosion.
USDA Chief Tom Vilsak headlined the Iowa Farm Bureau's Economic Summit, which was organized to help producers manage risk. Vilsak spent much of his time addressing the audience, but also found time to send a message to those back in Washington.
The yeas are 216, the nays are 208, the bill is passed.
Vilsak chided the House version of the Farm Bill as it contained no language for food assistance programs. And the Secretary said another renewal of the current bill, an option if a new bill isn't passed by October, is a step backwards.
Honestly, an extension removes any impetus for getting a farm bill done. And the challenge and the risk of not getting it done this year is that you're not likely to get it done in an election year, as we saw in 2012. And then if you don't get it done in an election year, then you have a new Congress that begins in 2015, and that you start the process over again. And the chances of getting it done in the latter part of the second term of a president equally problematic. So if we don't get it done now, the chances are that we won't get it done.
Well, as we enter August, let's check on the Mississippi Weekly Crop Report from the Mississippi Ag Statistics Service in Jackson. This report reflects conditions as of last Sunday, July 28th. As we look at topsoil moisture, it's only short in 15% of the state, very short in 1%, and that's not too bad for this time of year. Mississippi soybeans, only 36% of the crop setting pods as of this date. The average is 87%. We can also see the lateness of this year's crop in terms of Mississippi corn, 5% mature, normally 21% for this date. Only 52% of the cotton crop setting bolls, normally it's 83%. 46% of the rice crop is headed, and you can see the lateness there. 62% is the average for this state. Well, are you looking for a flowering annual that likes the summer heat? In this week's Southern Gardening segment, Extension horticulturist Dr. Gary Bachman will show us how the Zahara Zinnia can provide season-long color.
Today I'm at MSU's South Mississippi Branch Station in Poplarville, checking out the Zahara Zinnia in the trial gardens. Zahara Zinnia are tolerant of hot and droughty conditions, and that's good for our Mississippi gardens. Zahara Zinnia are great choices for providing annual color in the landscape. The selections in the Zahara series are well branched to support the abundant flowering. There's a wide range of new colors including yellow, white, and scarlet. A favorite of mine is Starlight Rose. This is a bicolor selection of white petals with a splash of deep rose shining from the center. However, the deep rose coloration is variable in hot weather. But perhaps the most exciting are the double flower selections. Double Cherry has deep magenta blooms, while Double Fire is a hot scarlet orange. Both double Zaharas have centers that lighten as the flowers mature. Zahara Zinnia should be planted in the full sun, knowing the color will not bleach out. In many areas of Mississippi, planting in raised beds will result in superior plant growth and flowering all summer long. These are low-maintenance flowering bedding plants. Transplanted in the landscape, Zahara Zinnia will quickly provide a blanket of color. And one of the best features of these plants is deadheading is seldom necessary. Planting Zahara Zinnia is one way to help make the summer landscape more beautiful with its season-long color. I'm Gary Bachman for Southern Gardening.
Leighton Gary says Zahara Zinnia is well known for its resistance to mildew and leaf spot. In the feature segment today, St. Bethany Fresh of Pontotoc, Mississippi. It's using high-tech to grow pesticide-free greenhouse tomatoes. And before we get to the Farm Week markets, last Tuesday was the annual Rice Field Day at Mississippi State University's Delta Research and Extension Center at Stoneville. A good crowd showed up, and the highlight of the day was a sizable gift to MSU Rice Research and Support. Mars Incorporated, the makers of Uncle Ben's brand rice, donated $50,000 to Mississippi State. Uncle Ben's has a mill in Greenville, Mississippi that buys a lot of Mississippi rice. We'll have more on the Rice Field Day on next week's show. Time now for the markets with Leighton, and there's evidence, Leighton, you say that pork has been selling well at the meat counter.
That is correct, Ernest. Hog producers are touting the latest cold storage numbers, which we will be looking at in a moment. Also ahead this week in the markets, low marketings may indicate some feedlot trouble for the beef sector. Exports of milk powder are a boost for the U.S. dairy industry. And soybean maturity may become an issue for some parts of the country as we get into fall. Extension Ag economist John Michael Riley has been looking at those beef numbers in the cold storage report too. He's also concerned about what may be happening at our nation's feedlots. I began an interview with him talking about that aspect of the cattle sector. John Michael, did you find any surprises in the most recent cattle on feed numbers?
No big glaring surprises. A few things that came either above or below what was expected, but at the final number, the on-feed number came in right as expected. Just over 1.5 million head of cattle placed on feed during the month of June, a little under 2 million head of cattle that were marketed during the month of June, and finally a little under 10.5 million head on feed as we sat July 1st. That placements number was a little higher than expected. And the marketings number was higher than expected as well. In fact, it was a little even more higher than the placements number. So at the end of the day, the on-feed number came in exactly how everybody expected that number to be. But the marketings number, even though it was much stronger than expected, still the lowest on record. So we are seeing some trouble in terms of getting cattle moved out of feedlots.
All right, let's kind of look into the couple of different sectors here. Fat cattle, what do you think, we're looking at down the road here, the fat cattle market?
Well, everybody seems to think that we've kind of hit our low for the summer, and we typically do fall off during the summer. The marketings number shows that there was some trouble getting cattle moved out of feedlots, and I think that moving forward, though, there is some optimism, skeptical optimism, but it's there given the fact that that marketings number was better than expected.
Has box beef been a source of problem?
We peaked in Memorial Day, as we always do, and we started to slide lower through the summer. Not surprising there. If you look at cold storage, that's a number that I've been paying close attention to. That number, looks like we've been growing in terms of inventory of beef in coolers, but the middle meats, it looks like those are moving pretty well. It seems like we're growing our inventories of ground beef. A lot of reasons could be in play there, but that's what it looks like in terms of moving further out of the feedlot sector.
All right, we've seen corn prices kind of come down some. What does that mean for feeder cattle? Would have to be positive? It's
been positive. Past couple of weeks, feeder cattle prices have been higher, shrinking numbers expected as we continue to move into the final parts of 2013. That looks optimistic for feeder cattle prices.
There's definitely optimism in the dairy sector these days about the record number of exports being reported. The milk powder market in particular is being described as being on fire due to foreign sales. On the flip side of the coin, analyst Naomi Bloom says U.S. domestic demand for dairy is stagnant right now. That means the exports of all that powder are more important than ever.
So it's really good that the export market is as strong as it is, because in the month of May, record production ever for milk, 17.7 billion pounds. So it's really good that we have a good, strong export market. And we're feeling that milk prices overall for the next 2 months, depending on the month you're looking at, will easily stay. No, it won't go lower than 17, probably 18.50 might be the max, and just kind of chop and go sideways in that range.
From a dairy market update, we go to a dairy-related trivia quiz here on Farm Week. Let's take a look at our question for the week. How much does a dairy cow in Mississippi cost these days? $859, $1,470, $1,699, or over $2,000? I'll tell you the answer at the end of the market segment.
We're going to pause for a short break on Farm Week. Coming up, we'll look at the calendar, and late in span we'll have the second half of the markets. In the feature segment today, St. Bethany Fresh. This brother-sister duo is proving young growers are up to the challenge of greenhouse tomato production.
MSUcares.com is a popular website offering coordinated access to Mississippi State University's research and extension system. Now we have a Spanish language version of MSUcares.com where you'll find newsletters, brochures, and publications. Plus, you can view Spanish language videos on topics including credit, finances, and immunization. Visit MSUcares.com today and click on the En Español link for useful Spanish language information.
Before we get back to the markets, let's look at the Farm Week calendar. Mississippi State University's White Sands unit will hold its Summer Field Day Tuesday, August 13th. It's located 10 miles west of Poplarville on Highway 26. The half-day event starts at 9 a.m. and ends with a sponsored lunch. Participants will tour and see the summer forage test plots. Different herbicide and fertilizer regimes will also be on display. You'll also get a chance to test your hay judgment in the annual hay evaluation contest. 2 Mississippi meetings of the Cattlemen's College take place in late August. Among many items, low-stress beef cattle handling will be demonstrated. The first will be held August 28th at the Kane Cattle Company at Pickens, and August 29th go to the JRW Farms at Seminary. There's no charge to attend. Call the Mississippi Cattlemen's Association to register for lunch. Go to our Farm Week website at farmweek.msucares.com for information on these and other events. Now check out this week's Farm Week Snapshot.
The 2012-2013 marketing year for cotton came to an end Wednesday, and the 2013-2014 marketing year began on Thursday. That's about as significant an event that has happened as a production time this week for what one analyst terms a dull market. Now, DTN reported cotton futures were trading under modest pressure Thursday morning after USDA data showed that the U.S. weekly export sales slowed down for both the old and the new marketing years, and shipments declined as well. Doan's commentary reports there is no reason to push new crop sales any further. only catch-up sales. Well, Thursday morning, soybeans started the new marketing year, the new month, unchanged. Analysts note that beneficial rains have helped give that crop a boost in certain parts of the country. However, some traders like Elaine Cubb do have concerns now about whether all of our nation's bean crop will be mature come harvest time.
I think the idea of late development is even more dire for soybeans than it is for corn. You look at the fields that are not canopied over and may never canopy over just because they're very stubby. They did not receive the growing degree days that these crops really need in order to be able to fill pods. And again, that maturity progress is about 13 percentage points behind a 5-year average. So we really are far behind. And now you're really in a threat of early frost for soybeans in particular. They are in a more dire weather situation than corn, in my opinion.
Before our feature story, let's check the trivia answer for this week. The correct choice is B. A dairy cow in Mississippi cost $1,470.
In our feature segment today, Farmweek's Amy Taylor reports on a brother and sister from Pontotoc, Mississippi, who are putting a new spin on the term local food. In years past, the concept of supporting local farmers markets and naturally grown products has really taken off in Mississippi. However, many of the items are only available on a seasonal basis. St. Bethany Fresh Farms in Pontotoc is working to fill a niche market for pesticide-free, locally produced tomatoes all year long. Farmweek's Amy Taylor reports.
With about 3,000 tomato plants growing in what's called a hydroponic greenhouse, St. Bethany Fresh in North Mississippi is not your typical tomato venue. The farm is a family business run by Stephen Hale and his sister Leah Beth Murphy, which inspired the name for the operation.
St. Bethany came from, it's part of my name and it's part of my sister's name. My sister always called me ST, and her name is Bethany, so they was kind of put together and became the name of our company.
Ground was broken for the greenhouse in the fall of 2011, seeds were planted in December, and by April of 2012, St. Bethany Fresh was selling tomatoes from a farm stand. Leah Beth Murphy says you'd be hard-pressed to find an operation in the state offering year-round fresh produce, which is what sparked the idea for St. Bethany Fresh.
I think in my family we have an entrepreneurial spirit, and one of those things that come along with that is seeing what is missing in a market. We're selling right now at farmers market. It's farmers market season. We're selling in Oxford and Tupelo, selling out every week so far. We're selling in a few restaurants in Tupelo and a few wholesale markets around in Bruce, Water Valley, Pontotoc, Tupelo.
Additionally, Murphy says one day she'd like to add other kinds of vegetables to the operation. Stephen Hale says the greenhouse is not built from conventional materials growers normally use.
It is a hydroponic greenhouse. It is completely computerized, as in temperature controlled, and our fertilizer is irrigated through the system computer-wise. Now we have to mix the fertilizer and keep everything up. And then we have to actually maintain the plants, but the rest of it is computerized and keeps the building temperatures controlled.
As for the unusual looking wall on the end of the structure, Hale says it's called a wet wall used for temperature control.
The wet wall, it kind of acts like a radiator does. Whenever the temperature gets too hot in here, the computer will tell the wet wall to come on, and water flows from a pipe in the top down through the wet wall, and then we have big fans on the other side of the building that actually suck air from the outside through the wet wall, and it helps cool the temperature down here and keep the humidity down.
In addition, Leah Beth Murphy explains why there's no need for chemical pesticides at St. Bethany Fresh.
We have a insect exclusion room that can kind of provide that for us, where when that wet wall does come on, the computer opens the vent doors and sucks in that air from the fans through that wet wall. We have an insect netting over that south wall, so when the fans pull that air through the vent door, through the wet wall, it's not sucking in any insects, and we don't have to use chemical pesticides.
Another unconventional process in the greenhouse is growing tomatoes in perlite instead of composted pine bark or soil. Perlite is weed-free, has a neutral pH, and serves well as a fertilizer carrier and a drainage component. Stephen Hale says all materials for the greenhouse came from one source.
Everything comes from the company that we started out with. It comes with the whole entire greenhouse, down to our fertilizer, to our packaging of our plant, of our actual tomatoes that we sell out of, the flats that we sell out, everything, every detail in there comes all in a package deal.
Needless to say, Hale and his family have been pleased with the product. But even with the convenient aspects of the facility, Leah Beth Murphy says caring for the plants is still a big job.
These plants get out of control quick, and we've learned the hard way at times that, they can grow up over our cable, and we don't want to lose any fruit, we don't want to lose any plants, so we have to stay on top of them continually. Breaking leaves, as you see, we leave about 8 to 10 leaves on each plant, and this doesn't take away from the fruit production and the quality, color, taste, most importantly.
Murphy says lots of research was done before starting the operation. She and her family attended workshops on greenhouse tomatoes and are working closely with the Mississippi State University Extension Service. Rick Snyder, MSU Extension Vegetable Specialist, talks about how he found out about St. Bethany Fresh.
I got an email from, I think it was from the 4-H agent here, who had visited the greenhouse. And once I found out there was a producer, I called him up on the phone, and we had a nice chat. And this is a family-run operation, and I told him about the greenhouse tomato short course, and next thing I know, he sent his daughter down, Leah Beth, and she came down to the greenhouse tomato short course in March, and we've been in contact since then.
Since learning about St. Bethany Fresh, Snyder says he admires the family's attention to detail. Additionally, he points out the clever way St. Bethany Fresh pollinates its plants.
This greenhouse is using bumblebees for pollinating the plants. That's another way to pollinate. A lot of growers will use a vibrating pollinator and hand pollinate every other day in the greenhouse. If the greenhouse is big enough, bumblebees can be used, and they do an equally good job, but it takes that labor away from having to hire people or do it yourself.
In addition, Snyder emphasizes that it's important for those interested in any facet of agriculture to get information and advice from the Mississippi State University Extension Service. Leah Beth Murphy says she and her family are happy with the progress of St. Bethany Fresh, and future plans are still ahead.
We have big dreams of even schools and hospitals. I'd love for that bureaucratic red tape to be something, my daughter didn't have to fight to get healthy, freshly grown vegetables or any kind of produce in her, kids' schools. Right now, that's a fight. It's a fight, and it shouldn't be like that.
Additionally, Murphy says customers and families often come to tour the facility and learn more about hydroponics. What she enjoys most are good times with her family and getting positive feedback on St. Bethany products.
We're just having a lot of fun right now, and I know that sounds cheesy, but this has been so much fun for my family and I, and to reap the benefits of seeing how people are responding to the product, because that's the most important thing. We may have beautiful plants, we may have a wonderful facility, we may have beautiful tomatoes, but if they don't taste good, it's all for naught. So we're really excited about how people are responding to our tomatoes.
With St. Bethany Fresh being the first hydroponic operation in Northeast Mississippi, Leah Beth, Stephen, and their family hope others will follow in the future. From Pontotoc, Mississippi, I'm Amy Taylor reporting.
Go to our Farm Week website if you'd like to see this story again. That's farmweek.msucares.com. You can also see it on YouTube and Facebook. We'll also have links and contact information on St. Bethany Fresh. We'll have links to their website, their Mississippi Market Maker webpage, and they also have, naturally, like everyone, a Facebook page as well. Now, Leighton, originally this story was aired in August of last year. Since then, marketing is the key to any enterprise. A lot of people can grow it, but the trick is selling it, and they are selling it, which is good news. They are going to be in 26 Whole Food locations. And for those of you who don't know about Whole Foods, they're primarily servicing a organic, low input, local food type clientele. And they are really big, really nice stores. Well, they're going to be in 26 of those in Mississippi, Alabama, North Carolina, Georgia, South Carolina, and Tennessee, including the one in Memphis on Poplar Avenue, and also in Jackson, where one is being constructed. Also, there are 82 Sprint Mart locations now that have their tomatoes, so you don't have to actually go to their Pontotoc location to pick it up.
But as she said, I mean, taste is everything. So the product is selling itself.
That's true. If they grew it and it didn't taste good, then nobody would want to buy it.
But they're also doing something right there. They're valuing that feedback, you know, listening to what the customers are saying as well.
They're also growing some English seedless cucumbers now, so they're branching out as well, and that's good to hear. So we are at the end of Farm Week for this week. On our next show, the average age of farmers in the United States continues to grow older.
Now that's not necessarily bad, since modern mechanization helps growers to extend their careers. However, failing to make plans to pass along the family farm can be costly.
The makers of Uncle Ben's Rice donate $50,000 to fund rice research and support efforts at Mississippi State University.
And in Southern Gardening, find out about some flowers that stand up to the dog days of August.
And if you'd like further information on a Farm Week story or want to suggest a story to us, you need to get in touch. And there's a couple of ways. You can find us on Facebook and YouTube. Our mailing address, Farm Week Box 9625, Mississippi State, Mississippi 39762. That's Farm Week Box 9625, Mississippi State, Mississippi 39762. Our telephone number is 662-325-2262. That's 662-325-2262. You can also contact us through your county office of the Mississippi State University Extension Service. For the rest of the Farm Week crew, I'm Artis Ford.
And I'm Leighton Spann. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next week.